Hello, today we're going to be breaking down Nano Dimension and drilling into the latest news, offerings and dilutions, ARK Invest's huge interest, competitors and the future of 3D printing, risks, big developments on stock price, and my price target moving forwards into 2021 and beyond. Stick around. Keep it simple. For those of you new to the channel, I am the Simple Trader. I share with you explosive growth stocks that I am buying, looking to buy, or already have sitting in my freedom portfolio. I am not a financial advisor, so please understand this is for entertainment only. Before we start drilling operations, please note that I do have a position in Nano Dimension, and to say it has been huge for my portfolio is an understatement. I loaded up big at $3.93 back in early November, and I am up a rather sickening 130% at the time I reduced my position last week, making it one of my best performing stocks in my portfolio, behind only on my positions in NEO, Palantir and Nordstrom. If you want my full bullish thesis on this stock, then please check out my previous video, and the link is in the description below, as I won't be repeating the same content here. No more plugging, let's start drilling. Nano Dimension recently released an investor presentation on the 17th of December which provides serious insight into the company and what they do. What is very insightful is the case studies they provided, which gives us a better understanding of what their product brings to the table. One of their presented case studies is with aerospace defense contractor Harris Corporation, who supports government and commercial customers in more than 100 countries. The collaboration is focused on a study to explore the potential use of 3D printing for radio frequency circuits for RF systems. The project included designing, simulating and testing a 3D printed RF amplifier and comparing it with the performance of an amplifier developed with conventional manufacturing techniques. Using Nano Dimension's Dragonfly system, Harris was able to 3D print functional RF circuits. All it took was 10 hours to print. The resulting data showed similar RF performance between the 3D printed and the baseline amplifiers, demonstrating the viability of Nano Dimension's 3D printing technology. The key part of the whole case study to note is the additional advantages of 3D printed electronics, which include the ability to save time by evaluating several design variations at one time and fabricate complex electronic systems that cannot, and let me highlight that again, cannot be manufactured by conventional means. This is big, and for me, where the whole 3D printing technology will be truly game changing and revolutionary moving forwards. Another impressive case study to note is with the big German based defense contractor Hensoldt, and how working with Nano Dimension has enabled them to assemble the world's first 10-layer printed PCB. This is big. I am no engineer, but as a layman, my understanding is that almost every electronic device in the world relies on and needs a PCB to function. Think of the PCB as the brain of any electronic device that allows it to function once programmed. The applications on paper are endless, and the opportunities this could provide in the future is difficult to truly appreciate at this point, so we have to keep an open mind. There are some key elements within this investor presentation that are important to highlight. Their whole business model is made clear when we understand that essentially they are selling a system that requires recurrent purchases, and in this case it's the 3D printing inks and materials themselves that will also develop, improve and be upgraded as we move forwards. This is big and is similar to the photocopier and printing brands such as Canon that make their money by selling inks. It's a proven model, and this is huge moving forward if Nano Dimension can properly scale up. In the financial data slide, the biggest thing for me to note is they now have over $430 million of cash after all the offerings, and check this, no debt. This is huge, and for a growth company to have no debt is almost unheard of. In the electronics market slide, what is shown is a potential exponential growth of the 3D printed electronics market, which represents a huge opportunity moving forwards. Of 3 of the research groups quoted, ID Tech X represented the lowest forecast, but it still has it that the 3D printed electronics market will be worth $2.3 billion come 2029.
No, money. Okay. It's more money. Okay.
On the 4th of December, Nano Dimension announced that 10 of their existing customers upgraded their machines to Dragonfly LDM, thus demonstrating that their existing customers value their product enormously and they see continued big uses moving forwards, so much so that they're willing to splash the cash right now to upgrade. Within the month of November and early December, it seemed that we had an offering almost every week, that the stock almost became an internet meme. The direct offering on the 6th of December was for a massive $180 million for 30 million shares at a purchase price of $6 per share, and they only advised us that they intend to use the money for working capital or other general corporate purposes, and for me, the key part, which is for pursuing strategic opportunities including possible business combination transactions. Are Nano looking to buy up some companies? We can only speculate at this point, but to be honest, I do see more direct offerings coming, as I really think they are gearing towards a big acquisition. Well, holy smokes, as I'm recording this, Nano Dimension have just announced another direct offering.
You issued 24 million new shares of stock. You were told that if new investors came along... How much were your shares diluted? How much were his?
This latest offering for $250 million represents 33.3 million shares at a price of $7.50, which is their biggest offering yet. This will close on or about the 30th of December, so in a couple of days. Now, this is again a direct offering and not public, meaning they've already lined up the investors, which could be an institution or a fund, for example. This is huge that an outside investor would want a massive 33.3 million shares, and I am sure the stock will drop, meaning another opportunity for retail investors like us to buy at the dip. For investors who got in earlier like me and below the $7.50 price, this represents a great deal and adds huge bullish sentiment moving forwards. For investors who unfortunately got in above the $8 levels, then it's just unfortunate timing.
Guess what? I think I'm parked in the red zone.
Based on the previous direct offerings, and if history repeats itself, then we should see the stock bounce back up and go past the current levels with some ease. So I suggest, my opinion only, if you can stomach it, to hold long. I honestly think Nano Dimension are raising capital to do something big, and if we wait for that something big to be announced, it will be way too late to get involved, because the stock could literally explode 50%. The key is to position yourself now before this, and this is just my opinion, but if you haven't got a position and wanted to start one, this could be a great window of opportunity. ARK Invest is literally going all in.
All in.
And she shoves!
And they are buying Nano Dimension every day. Look at this. Every single day they are buying and dollar cost averaging in, which tells me they are super bullish on this stock. I mean, Nano Dimensions have gone from 3.2 million shares in November to 4.5 million shares in December, and from 36th position to the 18th position now in the ARKQ portfolio. It is no surprise when we hear what ARK analyst Tasha Keeney had to say about 3D printing back in 2016, when they already had a bullish thesis on 3D printing.
Let's take a look at 3D printing, a technology that we believe will revolutionize traditional manufacturing. We'll start by sizing the 3D printing market through 2020 to give investors a sense of the magnitude of growth that we expect. ARK estimates that 3D printing will grow from $5 billion today to roughly $40 billion by 2020. While other firms have taken a more cautious approach using historical growth trends, ARK and McKinsey chose to use a top-down approach when sizing the market. At the very high end of estimates, McKinsey projects up to a $490 billion market by 2025.
She goes on to highlight that they see if 3D printing can move away from just prototyping and into final stage, it's another $500 billion market, and today it's 1% penetration only. So simply put, the opportunity is tremendous.
Today, the technology is mainly used to make prototypes and has penetrated only a slice of the end-use parts market, which we estimate is an additional $500 billion opportunity.
In April 2020, Tasha discusses 3D printing again, and this time she states the coming boom and customizations which will fuel it.
So 3D printing today is about a $10 billion market. We think that could grow to $97 billion in the next 5 years. That's because we expect 3D printing today is mostly prototyping. That's about a $12 to $13 billion industry globally. The end-use parts that go into the final product, is about a $500 billion opportunity, and we think it's only 1% penetrated today. So there's this massive greenfield space opportunity for 3D printing, and we still think it's pretty early days for the technology.
In order to gauge what opportunities exist for Nano Dimension and whether it's worth investing in right now, I think it's imperative that we take a scan of the competition. First, we have Stratasys, which is another 3D printing company that ARK is invested in.
Our top holding in the space is Stratasys. They're a leader in 3D printing for plastic parts. So they, particularly in aerospace, they've made a lot of headway in printing and in using their technology for plastic and composite parts for aircraft. Some of the losers would be more the traditional manufacturing companies that choose not to adopt the technology. So we don't think that necessarily injection molding or some of the old manufacturing processes will completely go away. But if you look at something like hearing aids, for instance, all hearing aids today are 3D printed. And that took, I believe, less than 2 years for the entire industry to shift over because it made so much sense. So I'd say any manufacturing company that doesn't adapt quick enough to this change likely won't be able to stay cost competitive.
Stratasys on face value seems very much like Nano Dimension, with Israeli roots embedded too. Whereas to me, it certainly feels like Nano is focusing on PCBs. On the other hand, Stratasys, for example, seem to have penetrated a much wider application, especially in the medical sector. We can see the stock price begin a huge uptrend since the middle part of this year, which tells me the technology is gaining traction across the sector and on Wall Street. Let's look at 3D Systems and their stock price chart, which is also showing the same uptrend. Finally, let's look at Materialize, who are second on ARK's ARKQ portfolio. And again, the peaks and troughs aside, the overall trend is still clearly upwards. I will be taking a deep drill into Materialize soon, as I believe this company could be the company to dominate the 3D printing market. Let's take a listen to the CEO of Materialize that provides us great insight into the overall 3D printing sector moving forwards in 2021 and beyond.
In this time of great flux, we must dare to take bold steps and discard what is not future-proof. As companies realize that they need to do things differently, AM empowers them to make a difference. And in this way, the legacy of AM will not be what it allows us to make, but what it makes possible.
What all these companies and price actions tell me is that there is clearly an expanding and growing market for 3D printing, additive manufacturing, and I believe, much like EVs, fintech, and even space travel, the recent events of the pandemic has literally brought the 3D printing technology boom forwards, as all companies are now turning to technology to improve, compete, and stay forward thinking. Wall Street is also clearly now taking note, and as investors, that's good for us. Clearly, the biggest risk at this moment to invest into Nano Dimension is the lack of revenue and sales generation. At this moment, we are literally investing in a company and looking to forward sales and forward growth. That's a big risk to take on, and one that must be weighed up with the potential rewards accordingly. When I invested at below $4, I believed this stock would hit $20 within 1 to 3 years. I still believe this to be the case, but the recent explosions, regardless of stock offerings, seem to indicate a lot of FOMO, and even pumping up of the stock. To open up a position at these levels seems very high risk, even for my taste.
You want to take a chance and risk getting knocked out? Oh my goodness!
When we look at total revenues since January 2018, that only add up to $13.5 million, and then we place this against the current market cap of $1.2 billion, then for me the stock is clearly a bit overpumped. With a third quarter earnings per share of negative 45 cents, this company is clearly still in its infancy growth stage. So, as the stock price goes further and further up, and no changes occur fundamentally in the company, then for me, the risk is increased in parallel. Look at this chart, it's literally going through the roof. If we take a look at the drops, we know they coincide with the direct offerings. Nonetheless, in less than a month, we have literally 2x'd. Now, is this sustainable? If I'm being honest right now, no. I am not seeing enough to justify this sort of parabolic move. I mean, the latest announced direct offering may stumble the stock a bit, but the overall indicators to me spells more continued upward momentum to $10 and potentially consolidating around there. But if it cannot sustain the $10 level, I see it retracting back to the $7 to $8. It's gonna take some big positive news, in my opinion, to really pump the stock up to obscene levels. This could be in the form of an acquisition that they could make as suggested in their Form 6K of the direct offerings.
You must want to know if my acquiring almost 5% of your company is a vote of confidence.
The rumour mill is out there, and I do think they will announce an acquisition of some sort in 2021. This could be the trigger that sends Nano Dimension to $15 levels and beyond. As I'm recording this, the stock went as low as $8 only. Yes, $8. It didn't even go lower. I mean, consider that the direct offering was at $7.50. This is just crazy. There is just so much bullish momentum on this stock that even such a massive dilution just doesn't even move it.
Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
My price target remains at $20 over 1 to 3 years. In the short term though, I see Nano Dimension hovering around $10 and potentially hitting a ceiling of $12 further into mid-2021. For this reason, I have liquidated half my shares in Nano Dimension to withdraw my original investment and with some locked-in profits too. Considering I made a 130% return, it basically means my leftover position represents free shares that I can now essentially ride long term. This is part of my overall strategy that enables me to grow my portfolio exponentially. If you have been following me, you would know I applied the same strategy on my Nordstrom stock. This has allowed me to open up new diversified growth positions in various stocks, which I will be discussing in upcoming videos. Thank you for watching, and remember, that I do have a position in Nano Dimension, so please take my analysis with precaution. Do your own due diligence and speak to a professional before you look to invest any of your money.
I'm just a professional. Everybody keeps saying that to me. I'm just a professional. I'm just a professional.
If you are interested in other huge growth stocks that I have in my portfolio, please check out my other videos. For more huge growth stock picks, analysis and updates, please stay tuned and consider subscribing to my channel so you get the information first. I am the Simple Trader and will simply see you next time.